Hey, welcome back to Quality Cup Life. My name is Imani, and here we believe in pouring into our cup first and creating and designing a life that's designed specifically for us, because you cannot give what you do not have. So let's pour it up and fill past capacity, okay? And so today I'm drinking, well, I'm not really drinking as much anymore because it kind of got cold, but I was drinking coffee with a little bit of chocolate, cacao powder in it, and some almond milk creamer. It was the bomb. All right, so today I am responding to a video it was kind of like interview style with Chance the Rapper, and on the Same Room channel. And he brought up some really great points, and I just wanted kind of to respond to him. Love Chance the Rapper. If you haven't already, go check out his song on YouTube and the music video I think it's called The Heart and the Tongue. It really makes you think about things. It makes you kind of challenges a little bit. And it's phenomenal. It's fire. All right, let's get into it.
I love that. And even like just hearing even your story, like when you talk about growing in discernment, and when you even talked about your faith, you talked about moments where it took you through like a journey. Was there like any key point or any key marker in your life where you were like, okay, God, I really want to surrender. Like, this is it. Like, was that with your daughter? Was that moment? What was that key moment?
Sometimes it don't even be like you want to surrender, but like, you don't have no choice. You ran to the very end of your woods. Like, you hanging on by, like, your pinky and you slipping, like, type of surrender. Sometimes as it gets,
In your life.
Several times. All the time. I'm brought to my knees a lot.
Yeah,
I think
same.
we all have, like, moments in our lives where if we think about it, we can remember where we were at.
Yes,
what we would call
absolutely.
our breaking point, And you can look back on it and laugh at it like, damn, I thought that was going to take me down, like, and it was so small and insignificant, but in those moments it's so heavy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've had quite a few times. I mean, I don't want to keep bringing it back, but yeah, when my daughter was first born, I was very scared. I've had times when I've been in hospitals for friends that passed away or that made it through, that I've, had to surrender and,
Gotta let it go.
I think it's like, I brought it up earlier, but when I was out here, when I was living in LA, and I just had so much access and money and popularity and just freedom to do what I want, it wasn't until I don't know what it is, the best way to describe it, but I feel like God can kind of just like tug on your heart and make you feel like heavy and like you need a higher,
It's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like you get all the things that you thought would make you happy. You get the money and all this, and then it's just empty.
Yeah.
It's insatiable. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Insatiable is the type of word. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, right?
Or kind of like when you like really you've been, so for instance, my example is I'm like super into like camera and like video and audio type of tech. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to do that, blah, 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 blah. And then once I get the thing and you start to get used to it, it doesn't have that same type of high or feeling that you thought it would have. And I think, it's a little bit different, but that's how I think about what he's saying. And so, a lot of times God is the one thing that keeps you filled if you let him be the one to fill you.
Right.
Go.
So like the idea of like peace is, calm within the storm, not necessarily afterwards. You know what I mean? And it's like the ability to know that you could stand on something and be protected by it, and have faith that you're gonna be all right, and not even that you're gonna be all right, that you are all right. And yeah, money doesn't bring peace, and fame doesn't bring peace, and even relationship and humans doesn't bring peace. It's about your alignment with God. So.
But do you feel like when you found God, you found peace, or are you still looking for that ultimate peace?
No, I think Jesus is something that you need to, re-up on every day type thing. You know what I'm saying? Because the experiences that we have in this world, whether it's the anger or the
people
lust
being
or the
people.
jealousy or the, feelings of being low and not seeing yourself as who God made you to be, that like you gotta keep
coming back to
re-upping
him
with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so no, I'm definitely not at peace most of the time, you know, but it just comes down to like recentering yourself and reminding yourself.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you exemplify someone who like walks in, God got me, it's all gonna be good. Because even when I think about like right before the pandemic, right, and canceling your world tour, and for many people it's like secure the bag.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And for you it's like it's not worth it. Like I want to be with my family. Like when we read about things like that, what that communicates is someone who is walking in the peace of God and recognizing like this doesn't define me, like it's bigger than this.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel like I definitely don't have it all figured out, and I definitely do walk in fear a lot, you know, and you know, fear is not a God, so it's like when you have the realization that you're operating in fear, operating in confusion, like that's you know, that could be largely helpful to you because it makes you realize that you're not
it kind of wakes you up for some
who you really
things.
are, who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But
come on,
yeah,
Chance.
I mean, like, I think
talk to me.
we all make decisions based on what we think is right at that moment.
Yeah.
And we just have to sometimes try and remind ourselves that God has a plan for all of us, and that He's not going to bring us into anything that's too much for us, you know, or too much for us. With him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that would be too much for us alone.
Absolutely.
You know?
What would you say is that nagging fear? Because I think for me, my fear.
You know what's cool about Chance? My man is so like, he seems just so humble and yeah, he just has like a humble type of feel to him, and and he just has like a humble type of feel, like not like arrogant, like I know exactly I think it's dope that he's like being really, really transparent and really honest, and like, yo, like sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I'll be all right because I know God has a plan for my life. And yeah, there are sometimes you do have to kind of humble yourself and realize that, you know, sometimes, you know, you do have a large, your life is largely affected by your decisions, of course, but there's some things that you're gonna have to surrender, you know, because you're only human. And so sometimes you got to freaking rely on God with everything you have, because you've done everything you could do, or you got yourself to a point where you don't know how to bring yourself back. And I ain't gonna lie, there has been several moments, and I can remember a lot of them, and I remember where I was, and I remember what how I felt overwhelmed and felt hopeless. And I mean, yeah, I'm gonna keep playing though.
It's like, I don't want to say an oxymoron, but it's like my fear is like not pleasing God. Like, I always think, dang, God's mad at me. Or not like that, but like, is God okay with where I'm going? Am I walking in the right steps? And like, that fear sometimes can be debilitating, right? So what would you say is your biggest fear?
Oh man, I have so many fears. I fear for the safety of my kids. I fear for the safety of my family. I fear for my own safety. I fear for, you know, not pleasing people. I fear not pleasing God. I fear, you know, just anything. You know, life is life. But I think when it comes to being fearful of not pleasing God, it's like one thing that we always have to remember is that we are not God, and we're not God incarnate. Like our job is to try and, you know, model our lives after Jesus, but we're never going to be perfect. We weren't born sinless. We're probably all going to sin again at some point. But it's like to know God's love for you, to know like how He sees you, and He sees you at your full potential. He sees your, just how, you know, He sees Himself. He built you in His image, and so you're strong and you're beautiful and you're, you know, courageous, and you're all these things. But at the end of the day, you are not flawless. You're of this world, you know, and we just have an opportunity to know what being holy looks like or feels like, and we're supposed to attempt to go for that all the time, even though it's not the easiest route.
Yeah, and even when you talk about that, because like when you think of Chance the Rapper, right? The first thing that comes to mind for me is someone who is a light.
Yeah.
Right, a light, and in one of the darkest
like such a happy guy.
Right, so even when you talk about that fear,
well, maybe not happy, but like just a joyful type of guy. He just seems like, yeah. When I think of Chance, I think of the little star thingy that's sitting on the table. Just like a little, not little, but a ball of light. That's what I think of when I think of Chance.
Like a thing that comes to mind is pressure, right? Even when you say scared about a lot of things because you wake up to just a bunch of unknown possibilities of life.
Yeah.
But even in your artistry, like, do you ever have the fear of like just the peer pressure, right? Because then as a musician, like, what do the people want to hear versus like, is this pleasing to God or is this pleasing people? Like, is it a win-win or are people gonna like give me hate for this? Like, do you sometimes deal with that even in your artistry?
All the time. Yeah, I mean, like you said, first of all, I operate in the world. Like, we have to deal with the real world. Like, we want to live in, the way that God wants us to, but also like the current world isn't all the way set up for that, right?
Yeah.
So, just operating that way in daily decisions and how I conduct myself is tough. But definitely in the music and I actually wrote a song about it recently. Like the last song that I released was called "The Heart and the Tongue." It's about this battle that,
song is phenomenal.
They say the tongue is the most evil part of your body, and it can commit a million sins a day. And it's really powerful. That's my job, is to use my written word to like express what I see in the world and how I feel and who I am. And my tongue can be deceiving. Like I can say things that are not true or not, of it or whatever, and still witness success in this world, on this plane. And my heart at the same time could want to express things that are of it or are holy or whatever, and it not be accepted or loved, or even if it is accepted and loved, it could be not true about me. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the heaviest things, is to attempt to tell what you know, to tell the gospel, to preach the word, to like tell the truth, but also not be Jesus is a tough thing. You know what I mean? That's a lot of people's thing that separates them from wanting to be in church, is that they experience people who don't feel like Jesus to them.
Yeah.
But,
hey, sir.
Paul is probably one of the most important figures in the Bible, and he persecuted hundreds of Christians. And
I like all the people. I like all the people in the Bible that murdered or killed, and then God, because I'm like, okay, if you could kill, or if you could persecute Christians, I know God can forgive me.
Yeah.
What I've done, you know what I mean?
God doesn't throw people away, man.
Yeah, man, that's fact. Cause people be throwing people away. Cause I'd be ready to throw people away for real. I'd be like, I was like, you was big trash that day. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's facts though. Like, people will leave the church or leave God or whatever based off of another human's actions. And I think that unfortunately people confuse God with other people. Like, God is not human. Humans are flawed. We all are flawed. We all do things that can be selfish sometimes, or petty, or judgmental, or hateful, or whatever the case is. But God is not like that. God has no reason to be like that. He made you, so he's not like jealous of you. He doesn't, because if it was the case, like, if he was that mad at you, he could just like erase you from existence. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, people, it's unfortunate that people that happens, because that's happened to me as well. I'm like, how you supposed to be, you say you this person, but your behavior says this, and you did that. I'm like, I don't really get it. Yeah, so I think, yeah.
But it's interesting because you said the tongue is the most evil part. And normally people say the heart.
The heart, so what I understand about the heart is that God is in control of the heart, right? So even though it's like one of our most powerful feelers, and it, makes a lot of decisions for us, it's only God that can make your heart move one way or the other. right? So like they talk about the old Pharaoh in Exodus when they're leaving Egypt, and he's witnessing all these miracles and all these acts of God brought on through Moses, and everybody can see like, nigga, it wasn't no plagues a couple months ago. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't frogs flying and stuff like that. Like, I think this God is real. But what God did was he gave the Pharaoh a heart of stone. He didn't want him to see the miracles that he had, because he had to, you know, exact his rage. I'm sorry, not rage, his wrath on the world. And it wasn't until he had gone through all these acts that he decided to give the Pharaoh a heart of flesh to see what was really going on and let his people go. Mm-hmm. And that could happen to us in real life to this day. I think some people just have hearts of stone, and it's on God's timing when to give them that heart of flesh.
That's really, I loved how you even talk about that, because when you said that, it made me think about, you know, the scripture that says, let the weak say I am strong.
Yeah.
But the whole essence of like speaking, like what you speak, even how the word of God talks about how like the tongue is like a sword, right? Like, you know, your words can cut, it can heal, all of that. Even in life, right? When we think about a lot of our trauma and a lot of the things that we go through, like it was words that were said when we were younger that shaped how we thought. That because even you as an independent artist, like.
Absolutely. This is not exactly where she's going. I don't think it is, but that's so true. And I put up a video like a couple days ago talking about what I thought meant you were rich what I thought meant people were rich when I was a kid. And then I also did a video on what I thought meant you were healthy as a kid. And those things were shaped. Those ideas that I had when I was a kid, that was shaped based off of my environment and like the words of my parents or grandparents, because those are the people I was around the most, or maybe my dad. And it gave me a certain idea of what I thought it meant to have money, or what I thought money represented, or what I thought food represented, and now that's changed. My idea of what I think money represents or food represents is different. For example, for now I've been listening to like people like Sean Stevenson or Dr. X and people like that, where they're talking about how food is actually information that you give in your body, and it's not just a filler or something to keep you from being hungry, and it's not just it's not just something you do when you're with family. Like it's a very important thing. I mean, it is, but like just attaching different meanings to things based off of who you're around and stuff like that. And the words matter, and how you interact with and speak about certain things matter. So I think that is a wonderful point.
Were there things connected to the words that came from your father or your mother that shaped you in those moments where it's like, hey, there's a deal in front of you, and then you're hearing what your father said, your mother said, right?
Yeah, and those things can be both negative and positive. So she's talking about it in a positive way, but for some things, even if you had like really solid good parents, like most of the time everything they taught you isn't exactly what's the best sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think words are extremely important. God is the word, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, if you, like the Revelation says, like the big moment for us is the moment where every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess the Jesus is Lord, you know what I'm saying? So like, words in themselves, God spoke the world into existence. Like, the word is extremely powerful, and as a parent, you have like such a huge responsibility in raising up, building up, disciplining, you know, talking to your children. And you're right, your voice will resonate far past all the people and environments that they go through, because you're 100% right. When I was in those meetings, I was in a meeting one time when I was in this, I'm not gonna say who I was with, but I was at this record label back when I was, 2012. I was looking for a deal, and I remember I played them a couple of songs, and they were like, "We're about to go get a contract for you right now." And they walked out, printed out a contract.
Wow.
basically locked us in the room and came back in and put it on the table like we were supposed to sign in that meeting. And I kind of felt pressure, like, look, it's money. I came up here for a meeting. I don't know I was getting paid. Like, I'm gonna do this. But I could just remember my mom telling me right before I got on the plane, don't sign shit. I was like, I just remember those 3 words like that whole time. And luckily I made it out of that room unsigned until this day. But it's like,
to this day,
those little things that your parents instill in you, they stay with you forever.
Yeah.
I feel like contracts are like big traps, you know, that could take away and steal your God-given purpose sometimes. I know me, like, I heard a voice in 2017 when I found Jesus not to take investment money. And it was the hardest thing because the amounts of money I've been offered or just the people I've been, you know, had to pass up, it takes an extreme amount of faith to say no.
And discipline,
when it's
to say no.
It looks like the easier route, you
Yeah.
know? So how much would you say, like, just give us like an idea of how the kind of faith it takes for you to continue to be independent when we know that you could just take money here, you know, and this and that. Yeah.
For me, for now, it's easier because I've been blessed with a lot of money, so now I don't have to worry about it anymore. But it was a tough thing for a long time. I used to, being independent means you fund everything yourself, so you go broke a lot. And people see certain things that you have, the tours that you're doing, or the stuff that you put out, and they're like, oh, like it looks like you're doing great, but really you're just betting on yourself over and over again. But I think like...
And that's the cool thing about betting on yourself is the more you bet on yourself and you build your own self up in whatever it is, your brand or whatever it is that you're doing, the more control you have over what you do and don't want to do. Like, cause Chance can drop a song. Cause Chance just dropped a song. What was that? The Heart and the Tongue, like a couple months ago. And he didn't put it anywhere else, just on YouTube with the music video. It's no other streaming platforms, or at least it wasn't when he dropped it. And if he was with a label, they would be telling him what he could and could not do and where he needed to do. And he can do exactly what he wants to do, and he can say no when he wants to say no. Whereas some other people who may be signed probably aren't able to do that. They don't have that level of control because, somebody else put their money up for them and not them putting their money up for them. No shade on that, because there's benefits to both. There's pros and cons to both, but just saying. That's like a benefit of it.
For me, what's weird is that like I often look at my independence as like a sign of like how close I am to God, but also it is a lot about control, It is a lot about not having somebody else to be able to tell me what I can and can't do, when I can do, where I can do, whatever.
Yeah.
And, that's extremely freeing and liberating.
Yeah.
But also like you do need to have God in control at least a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like not being in control can sometimes mean you're out of control.
Yeah.
You still have to be disciplined and stuff. So it's been tough for me.
You need more discipline when you're in control than when somebody else is over you. Like, it takes more discipline because you don't got nobody on your back, like the label on your back, like, you gotta get this done and blah, 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 blah. Like you have to be on your back about whatever it is that your goal is, because if not, then somebody else is going to be on your back about what their goal is. So, it's a good point, Chance. Let's go.
In
Chance.
The past, to like, to really just like be going through a lot of different things, and especially earlier when I was broke, trying to find ways to get monies to like to put on a show or to get the buses or get stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think also it's like, I know this industry is hella evil, so I'm getting that, like, do I really want to sign with these niggas? Like, do I want to have to do anything for these niggas? No. So, I don't know.
No, but I think that's beautiful because it's like the essence of like going into something with the awareness or the consciousness of like purpose.
Yeah.
Right? Because I remember on Rhythm and Flow, there was this artist who he was doing a music video right in a church, and they're like, the cross is upside down, it's looking real demonic, and you told him that you were like, hey, like, take creative control over your stuff, because people are going to try to twist the message, and so I think that's the beauty, even when what you've modeled as an independent artist, like showing people like, hey, you know, if you're going into this with an awareness, like I'm an assignment, you know, you're not just so easy to just kind of sell yourself short.
Yeah. Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. Because even if you do have somebody, quote unquote, over you or stuff like that, you still can set boundaries and be like, okay, so I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do like it's still, you're still good to have boundaries. And it's just that the more you have control over, the more you can determine how far those boundaries go. But I think that's a wonderful point. I watched like maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Rhythm and Flow. I must have been in college or something, because I think one of my roommates, she watched it for a little bit. That was years ago. But yeah, that's a great that's a great point that Chance gave the guy, like to take creative control of what you're doing. Don't just let nobody talk you into something that doesn't represent you. So that's what I got today. I'm just gonna stop it right there, because we're gonna be all here all day. My camera about to run out of time. But thank you so much. Let me know in the comments what you think. I would love to hear some feedback. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you here for it. If not, then whatever. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.